Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by the MHSAA Executive Director, Mark Ewell. How's it going?
Great to see you, Casey.
So pretty good winter sports season. Spring sports are doing well when the weather is cooperating. But overall, it's been a pretty good few months for you guys.
Yeah, as we talked the last time, the key word now is normalcy. We talked a lot during COVID and during the pandemic, and this winter felt as normal of a winter again as we've had. Crowds were great. Record attendance for girls basketball at Breslin. Year two of our girls wrestling finals at Ford Field, where our numbers of participants have doubled just from year one to year two. So winter went very smooth, very successful. And if we can just figure out how we can work a little better here with Mother Nature when it comes to spring sports, we'll be in good shape.
So a couple things, especially with basketball, when you look at how that went, I know there's obviously some, potential things that could possibly happen with that. Especially there was also talk of, seeding the entire region for both boys and girls basketball. And apparently that's also been presented to you guys.
It has. So our Basketball Coaches Association, BCAM, who we have a great relationship with, they had a committee that developed a regional seating plan where they would take a region. So let's assume there's 24 schools in a region who would be divided into 4 6-team districts. And what their plan would do is they would use MPR and they would seed 1 through 24. And you would then establish your 4 districts based strictly on the seeds. It'd be more like the NCAA tournament where every team is seeded rather than based on geography that you're right now put into a geographically based district, and 1 and 2 are separated, and then the formula determines the rest of the bracket. It's unique. It's different. It would be a huge change. And so, this is the first time that this has been discussed within the MHSAA community. It'll be the first time it'll be in front of our board this weekend. And I know that there's lots of questions to be answered.
Yeah. So kind of talk about, I know there's obviously some other things that are in there. If the shot clock was going to be implemented, how would that work?
So the National Federation a year ago put into the national playing rules that a shot clock is permitted by state association adoption. So they basically punted the issue to each of us at the individual states. Again, in partnership with BCAM, we've allowed some of the holiday tournaments to experiment with a shot clock, to where we've taken some data, surveyed everybody. My daughter's a sophomore at DeWitt. We played in one of those holiday events over in West Michigan back in December at Aquinas College. So my own kids' team had an experience with the shot clock. And then we also took data at the Breslin Center. We had 24 games back in March. We had somebody at the scores table charting what was the time frame that teams were taking shots. So we'll have all of that data, be able to share it with our board, and hopefully be able to make some informed decisions moving forward. We surveyed coaches, we surveyed ADs. Coaches are very interested by it. ADs are less interested by it. So kind of a split vote when it's come to the surveys, but we'll continue the conversation. That's for sure.
Yeah. Also kind of talk about with how hockey's been going so far. I know that it was a pretty good year. All 3 championship games were really, really good. I know that because I was there. But it was also another big change for that sport, especially with with the divisions and also seeding the semifinals.
So hockey has so many of our teams are what are called cooperative programs, to where it's 3 schools that come together to form one team. So it's the kids at Central, Western, and Eastern High School. They play on a combined team, and then we have other schools where they've got good hockey numbers and they have a standalone team, like Heartland would be one such example. What we did this year in hockey is we took all of the co-ops by enrollment and we divided them equally into thirds. So the biggest group of co-ops are D1, the next are D2, the next are D3. And then we did the same thing with all of our standalone teams, because prior to this year, almost Division 1 was Detroit Catholic Central, Brighton, and almost everybody else was a co-op. Almost all of our standalone teams were in divisions 2 and 3. This year, by dividing the two groups of schools evenly, the mix of teams was different, and we got some really good feedback from the hockey community with that change. And then we also, once we got to the Final Four at USA Hockey Arena, we reseeded the Final Four. So our seed committee used MPR, and going into the finals, again, everybody was going to the same arena, so it's not like you were increasing travel for anybody. One played 4, 2 played 3 in the semis. And as you said, Casey, it led to an incredible championship Saturday, that's for sure.
Yeah. Talking about other things like, with wrestling, how did that go? And what are we looking at toward, possible, with that and with boys and both for both boys and girls?
Boys wrestling continues to be one of our strongest sports. You look at the number of kids from Michigan that are getting opportunities to go on and wrestle at the next level. We're one of the top wrestling states in the country. So on the boys side, really, really good talent, especially at the top end. And that was great to see again. As I mentioned earlier, our girls numbers continue to explode. The number of girls wrestlers doubled from year 1 to year 2. The level of competition in the girls division this year at Ford Field was far stronger. Again, that's just normal as any sport continues to evolve and grow and more kids participate, more kids, go to the non-school tournaments in the off season. You're going to see the level of skill and performance increase, and we're seeing that right now. So no, wrestling, and again, our crowds at Ford Field were as good as they've been in a long, long time as well. So a lot to celebrate, that's for sure.
Yeah. Are we seeing any big changes with spring sports, with the way that those sports operate and stuff?
No changes, just trying to battle Mother Nature with all the rain we've had down here in the lower peninsula. We talked to our colleagues at Marquette yesterday that on May 2, they had 18 inches of new snow on the ground. And you talk to some of their coaches and, they're afraid they won't be able to get on their fields till the end of May. So that's the challenge. And as lovely as parts of February were for us weather-wise, having lived in Michigan my whole life, I was afraid that we would pay for that at some point. And yeah, we're seeing a pretty rough stretch here with some precipitation and cold weather.
Yeah. Kind of talk about like, with that, do you see any potential delays to tournaments if they can't get fields done or anything?
Nope. We are going to move forward based on the calendar. While the weather hasn't been good, this is certainly not unique. Our schools and our school athletic directors, unfortunately, have lots of experience working around, kind of suspect weather in the spring. And that just, you take the rocks with those farms with spring in Michigan.
Yeah. Also, the state lacrosse finals, I believe, have a new venue for at least for on the boys' side, if I'm not mistaken.
So venues, I'll start first, just talking generally about venues, and then we'll talk about lacrosse. So venues, in a perfect world, we would have all of our championships at the best venue possible, which would be college facilities. So we're very, very lucky when it comes to basketball. There were, I should say, college or pro venues, with football and boys and girls wrestling at Ford Field. We're very, very lucky there. The Wings Event Center has been great for team wrestling. So in so many respects, we're very, very blessed. We would love to be able, with our lacrosse finals, to one day maybe end up at the University of Michigan. They build a lacrosse only facility. It is phenomenal. But the challenge that you have with college, at least with that college facility in June, is you're starting to run into summer camps and some of those things. We're lucky Michigan State welcomes us with open arms when it comes to baseball, softball, and girls soccer. But lacrosse, our best options as it stands right now are still high school facilities. Now, we're going to one of the, in my opinion, the most picturesque high school facility in the state, and that's East Grand Rapids High School. We had been at the Parker School facility in Howell with boys lacrosse finals here recently. East Grand Rapids, it sits right on Reed's Lake. You sit on the home side at that stadium and you look across the field and the lake. On June 10th, I'm sure it'll be absolutely beautiful, but that's a challenge. We do some of our sports to where we still are at high school venues, and we'll continue to look for the best options. But you are right, Casey. Boys lacrosse is going west this year and will be at East Grand Rapids.
Girls lacrosse. Where is girls lacrosse? Where are they held?
So our girls lacrosse, we've had a nice rotation between our championships. And we're going back to Rockford High School. We were at Rockford last year. We're back there again. So for our lacrosse fans on June 10th, that's the day of both finals. Rockford and East Grand Rapids are only about a 20-mile difference, 20-minute difference, I guess I should say. So for the diehard lacrosse fans, Grand Rapids is the place to be.
All right. In regards to fall sports, do we see any potential changes there?
It'll depend on what comes out of our representative council meetings this weekend. So we've got a lot of different sport proposals that will go to the council. Ones that I think are likely to get passed. Most folks won't see those as big changes or major changes, but perhaps, Casey, in the next couple of weeks, we can have another visit and we'll be able to share with your viewers and listeners what has been approved and passed for the fall and beyond.
Yeah, sounds good. Any potential changes coming for football?
Nope. Plan for next fall as we are under the strength of schedule system, played in 8 divisions of 11 player, 2 divisions of 8 player, and that is the football plan for the fall, and that's what 2023 will look like in terms of football.
Okay. Any potential, do we have an update on anything related to Public Act 184?
We're close, and so that could be something else in a couple of weeks. I do know that a bill has been introduced in both the House and the Senate that would allow recent retirees to continue in their coaching and officiating capacities, which really provides a waiver essentially of Public Act 184, which says that recent retirees can't come back to coach for 9 months. But in politics, Casey, I won't share much more beyond that because I don't want to jinx anything, but we're hopeful we've got a solution in place that will hopefully reach the governor's desk and will be signed here very soon.
All right. All right. Well, Mark Ewell, thank you so much as always for talking with us, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks.
Sounds great. Thanks, Casey.